All right, good afternoon. How you guys doing?
Good.
All right. My name is Paul. I'm based in Chicago. I own Creative Photography by Paul, and I also own Photo Booths of Chicago. Been around, our business has been around 11 years, doing very well in the photography industry. I teach a lot of photography classes locally to kids, with some high school kids, and then anybody who asks, if you drop me an email, I can answer your question. You can see it says the first word of photo is photography. So how many of you think you are photographers?
I try.
Is everybody in the photo booth business?
Yeah, we are.
Yes? Is anybody not in the photo booth business yet or thinking about getting in? So you guys are all seasoned veterans, right?
No.
Okay.
Brand
No?
new. Brand new.
Brand new? That's what I like to hear. Awesome. Okay, so you are a photographer. Everybody here has a camera. Everybody needs to know how to work your camera. Okay? Does everybody know everything there is about their Canon camera?
No.
Has everybody used Canon? Anybody use Nikon? No? Okay. Canon's the industry leader, I mean, in the photo booth business. I shoot professionally, I shoot Nikon. I also shoot Canon for a lot of events. Yesterday I shot a Fuji camera, which was a lot of fun. Thank you, Jamie. Appreciate that. So it doesn't matter what camera you're using. We'll tell you that a camera, whether it's a T3, 4, 5, 6, they're all great cameras. Glass is very important. So when you start getting up to higher end jobs, you want to consider a better lens. Okay, these kit lenses are great, but you do have to remember that it's a paperweight. It does a good job when you start getting into a higher end glass. So if you're doing a step and repeats, you're doing a high end corporate event, a better glass is going to save a better image. So here's some things that we're going to be working on today. I just went over a little bit about me. Started my photo booth 7 years ago. This was my first photo booth. I bought it from somebody who built it for their wedding. He was an engineering degree major. So he built it, I bought it, and used that for about 150 jobs. Made a lot of money on it. I consider that my dinosaur. There's not a day that I don't think about that and wish I had it back. Because there are clients now asking for the 2 and 3 person photo booth. And when I got rid of it, it was, you had to have the trailer. You had to have 2 people set it up. But it was a great photo booth. It ran on LED lights, it had a touch screen, and it even had just arcade button to start it. It was very prehistoric. But it did a great job. When I first got it, it had a webcam, and then we put a DSLR into it. So it was a great one. I don't care what kind of booth you guys are using. These are 3 of the ones that we're using right now. The one on the left is, it's a few years old. It runs on an Alien B ring light. Does anybody have an Alien B ring light that you're using? So do you notice, what do you think of the quality on the photos?
I find so much of the quality on the photos that's to do with the light in the room.
Right.
So we haven't used that one as much lately.
Okay. Anybody else that uses that?
I would probably work down after reaching out to you and got the Digi-B, that's
Yep.
like the Alien B.
Absolutely.
And it made a whole lot of difference.
I have the Digi-B and I was just going to say.
And we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
So when I got this booth, I got that because I liked the fact that it was a strobe and monolight built in. It's pretty harsh on the face, and people will complain about they have ring in your eyes. The LED, yes.
Yeah.
If you look at the middle one, that's a Pixstation Mini. I'm not endorsing any products, so don't think I am. But that's a Pixstation Mini. All of my setups, everything I bought was just black. Whether you like the black photo booths, or you like white photo booths, or you like to mix it up, I just kept with a very clean look. I don't need a lot on my booths. But I went with an umbrella with the middle one. That's an Alien B 800, or is it 800? It's a great, or actually those are 400s. Those are great.
Surface Pro?
So it's a Surface Pro.
Okay.
It is
camera?
just the ring light in the front. It's a DSLR. It's the T6i. And we're bouncing the flash. So we're bouncing it into the reflector. and it's hitting your subject pretty nice. I don't know if you've ever seen the people that have had the umbrella the wrong way. Okay, I'm sure. Just yeah.
Does the umbrella have to have like that reflection part in it, or is it like a plain white one with no foil looking?
So these are from Amazon. They're very inexpensive, and you buy them in a 2-pack. Why do you buy it in a 2-pack? Because if one breaks, you have a backup. Okay, we'll talk about backups later. The reason you want that is if you have a white one, what's going to happen is the white light or the light is going to flash, and it's going to go this way, right? So if you have it going backwards, it's going to shoot the opposite way. Okay, the flash you see right here is going to go up on the ceiling. So there is some beauty dishes, which is what you see right over here on the right. That's a beauty dish. That's basically an umbrella turned the other way, and it's just a white, like you said. It's like an umbrella shooting this way. I have seen people that have just turned umbrellas around and shot through it, and that does work. The beauty dishes are pretty nice. I like to just tear them up. That'll be fun. So I like it. It's just very clean. Again, it's shooting. Instead of using the ring light, which is directly in your face, I have it up here, and it's shooting down. It does a very, very nice job cleaning with clean flash.
When you say the ring light, are you talking about the LED round, like that?
LED round doesn't do anything at all. It's basically just to say, hey, look here. It really has no function to it. I haven't even had mine on in a couple days, or a couple of jobs. And I didn't plug it in. Yes?
I'm sorry, I'm suffering from optical illusion here.
No, you're good.
So is your umbrella like this with the flash normal, or are you saying it's reversed with the flash on it?
So you want the flash to go towards the ceiling, backwards.
Of course, okay, so yeah, the way you described it.
I'm sorry, it's shooting this way, and then the reflector brings it back.
The umbrella catches the light.
Yes.
Okay, yes, and it bounces it back to the.
It does. Well, you can get shadows by many, many things. If I was shooting against this wall, you're always going to get a shadow. You're always going to get that ring, or that shadow effect. If you're shooting on a pillowcase material, which the tension fabric, the job is for the flashes to go straight through, right? So the flash goes right through that backdrop, and that's why you don't have the flash on. That makes sense? And yeah.
Sorry, is that a gold reflector or a white one on the middle?
The middle one?
Yeah.
What is the?
Is that a gold one or white?
So it's silver. It's just the way the mono light in there is more of a bronzy color light. It's just the way the flash, when you have it on, it's a yellower color.
Is there a benefit to silver only?
Oh, I would definitely always go with, if you're going with an umbrella, I would go with silver. It's definitely a better lighting scenario. The white that you see on the right, the beauty dish, is just going to put it's not so harsh. If I didn't have that, it would be really harsh on your face. So you want to kind of diffuse it. So we're going to talk about camera. So the camera equipment, right? So what do we need for a photo booth? We need a camera. We definitely need memory. Well, you always have to have batteries. I always say bring a battery in case your actual power supply goes bad. Does everybody use a power supply on your camera? Does anybody use batteries? So you still use a battery and you plug it in, right? So do you ever get halfway through a job and run out? The battery, you have to swap it out?
I haven't had that long a job yet.
No? Okay. You do want to look into an actual power supply, and what it does is you take the battery out, it plugs in, and then you plug that into your power strip. Reason is then it's just running on constant. The camera's always running on power. So here's a way to make extra income. I've been to weddings where the bride and the groom are getting ready to cut their cake, and their photographer went and sat down and ate.
Oh.
Ready? So I'm sitting there, and it's New Year's Eve, and my wife and I are working a job, we're ready to go. And I noticed that photographer's nowhere to be seen. I opened the back of my photo booth, I took the camera out, I hooked this flash, which I keep an extra flash. So I kept a camera flash, threw a memory, an SD card in, and I ran over and snapped the cake. That's not my job. I am not the photographer, and I did apologize to the bride and groom and said, I'm sorry, I just have to do this because I don't see the photographer and no one's here. And you know everybody's a cell phone photographer. So I got a very nice thank you note, I got a good review, and we got a tip, which is always good. So keep that in mind, is to always be prepared. You can pull that camera out in a minute. You can put an SD card in and you can possibly save a day. Lenses, so everybody's probably has an 1855. That's the smallest one that it comes with. Does anybody do wide angle? Ever think about doing wide angle?
Yeah, I'm interested in learning more about it.
So like a 10 to 22, right? Yeah, there's a 10 to 22. I have done wide angle where the backdrop is against the wall. My photo booth is like right up here. And I will dial my flash that I showed you, the beauty dish. I'll go all the way down, so very, very minimal power. I will, I think my 10 to 22 goes down to, it was a 2.8 or maybe it's a 4. And so I brought my f-stop all the way down. I increased my ISO, and I'll go through some of this if you want, so you don't have to write any of this down right now. But it was really cool because I was able to get really close, and I was able to get from backdrop to the backdrop, and it's just a different effect. It's not just a square photo.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So I do mostly enclosed booth, people that my customers want it, that's the
Right.
way it is. And it's 5 feet wide, and I have white drapes, but then I hang a backdrop.
Mhm.
So when I get a large group, I can fit, I've had 14 people in the booth.
Yes.
I have to zoom as far back as I can, and so I get the white drapes on the sides.
Correct.
Would the wide angle eliminate that, if I had a wide angle?
It's going to be worse.
It'd be worse, right?
You're going to pick up the side walls now.
Right.
It will. It'll take everything and just go even wider.
Okay.
So in some certain circumstances, if you were, so like we're using this balloon, see how wide it is? You put a wide angle here and we can get this whole entire group
Okay.
where that cameras get a really nice shot, probably even half the distance.
So that would not.
It wouldn't work for yours,
Yeah.
no.
And
I would actually
people are
be
fine
able
with it, but I would love it if it was all the way around. There's just no way to do it with white drape.
Yeah. There's certain ways, I mean, like with the enclosure booths, what I've done in the past is I actually did curtains on the side to match. So that way, wherever they are, there's no black on the
Right,
sides.
I thought
Everything
about
looked
that,
uniform. So no matter where you are, there's no dip, it never ends.
How much would a wide angle lens cost? Like to switch out your lens?
I think the cheap wide angle, I want to say they're $400. They're not terrible, but you're not going to use it all the time.
Right.
So if you have a camera place that's by your house, I have ProCam, I'm in Aurora, or by Aurora, Illinois, suburb of Chicago, and we have ProCam, it costs me $25 if I ever need a lens, I just rent it. They charge my credit card for like $1,500 and then I get it back when I return it. So just something to think about. Backup equipment. So honestly, ladies, how many of you keep a bin full of backup equipment? Love it. Okay, does everybody, I'm talking everything. Okay, who has everything? You have everything, okay.
But I don't bring it every time, so that doesn't,
So not every time, okay.
Yeah.
How many of you ladies,
I'm being honest.
ready, have had to return refund money? Be honest. Okay, so you refund money. Because of equipment failure? Okay, so it's very important to have a bin, and whether you leave it in the car or bring it with you, of every single thing. I mean, the $3 cable that is going to cost you $500, $600, $700 is a disaster. Your review, your reputation, it's just, and you feel like just completely beat up. So simple things like your cables, your little hot shoe, right? That little hot shoe thing is only 10 or 12 bucks, and that can be the worst, right? That cable, that printer cable that just isn't communicating is just the worst. So, keep your batteries full, charged, just as a backup. The power supplies, how many people had a power supply go back on their camera? Yeah, I mean, I have swapped out one, and gone to the next, and gone to the next, and the third one has finally started. But I will tell you, when you first it's starting to have issues, best thing to do, shut off the computer, turn everything off. I've even done where I've unplugged everything and started plugging everything back in. Okay? So backups.
Can I ask you another quick question, since you mentioned
Yeah.
hot shoe?
Yes.
Mine's been for 5 years. I've had it. I've never had to replace it, but I'm always worried. Like, should I just replace it?
No, you should just keep one in the
I do.
house.
I have a backup.
Don't
but-
replace it.
Okay.
Because you're
Will
gonna
it just go when it
replace it, put a new one in that could just be just as exactly the same.
Okay, got it.
You could, and when you're gonna be worried about that going bad. So no, just
Is
leave
it
it in there.
easy to know when it's the hot shoe that's bad?
There's no way.
Like, once it goes, if something doesn't work, is
The first thing to do is replace the cable.
right.
Take the cable out. The minute you unplug that cable, if that flash goes off, you know it's communicating.
Okay.
If it's not communicating, it's not flashing. Remember how when you pull that cable? So that's what I would do. But
Okay.
I had a job last week that we had the exact same photo booth under our table. And I'm talking the entire photo booth was sitting underneath. And the reason we had that was high-end client. I can't afford to give back $1,200, $1,300 for something that, you know, in the middle of my job, a Windows update pops up. Yeah, everybody has seen that, right? Or your job is starting in 10 minutes and it starts. So, you know, those backups that's the most important thing. Camera basics. So what do all the dials and buttons do? You guys all shoot, everyone shoots in manual, correct? Does anybody shoot other than manual? No? Good. That's all I hear. Auto, let's go back. Auto settings. Does anybody use auto white balance? Okay. Okay. And does anybody use the flash? So under white balance, there's flash. That's what I use. So if you're let's say you're using darkroom software, doesn't matter what software. When you're going into your settings, there's custom, there's auto white balance, there's what else is there? What other ones, Jamie, in the software? Shade, tungsten, yes. So I leave mine on flash, and that is doing a really good job. Now there's plenty of times when you're doing a white backdrop. When you have a white backdrop, you kind of have that yellow cream colors. Anybody ever have that where you're shooting and you feel like every photo is either gray or white? Do you shoot on white backdrop ever?
Yes.
Okay, how's your white? Does it look really good? Looks crisp?
Yes.
So you have a really good flash. Your lighting is hitting that absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect. With an umbrella?
Yes.
Yours is showing gray. So what you're getting is the center looks great and it trails to the side. Am I right? So your right and your left are gray.
My sides are gray.
Okay, so what I found was a bigger umbrella. The reason is now it's covering more real estate. So the umbrella is, you go from, what's a standard umbrella, 30 something, you can go to the next size up. And I mean, what is that, 42, right? Yeah, I have a 42, and I only use it when I'm using white. And I just had another photo boother last week. He sent me photos. He was doing an outdoor event. And I said, oh, it's very easy. Get a bigger umbrella. And he said, I don't have a bigger umbrella. I said, well then, how about those LED sticks? So he lit the right side, he lit the left side, and then all we focused on was getting that crisp white. What we did, auto white balance, because even the regular flash outside, we tried custom. Now once it starts getting darker, everything has changed. He went with white, and all those photos he kept throughout the night. He was texting me saying, oh, it looks great. But we had to improvise and say, well, how else are we gonna light those? Regular backdrop, and I don't want to get into like the sequence because I know everybody complains about why is it look like this, or I see lines, or is it too shiny, or but it's all about lighting and how you light the backdrop.
What do you do if you have a height restriction with the umbrella? So like if I put it on top of the booth, I'm
Yep.
already touching some people's ceilings practically. So
Yeah, for an 8-foot ceiling,
Yeah.
it happens all the time. It's just the way you have to angle it. I mean, the umbrella, I unfortunately had one that we had to go pretty close to the flash.
Yeah.
Uh,
But it did the same job.
It did the same job, but with the beauty dish, you don't have that issue anymore.
I use LEDs on the sides typically, which is like
Oh, good.
more stuff.
Yeah.
It looks clean.
As long as, when you use LEDs on those tripods, you just have to, I don't use tripods, I don't use any LED sticks, I don't use, what you saw in my setups, like I said, all I want is clean and something that I'm not gonna get a lawsuit over. That's all I care about. I do not want anybody ever tripping over my equipment. My little IKEA table that's black table, people can knock it. That $8 table is, I have 3 of them in my garage that are brand new, and I pull them out all the time. It works, it holds my printers, and but no one, I keep everything in my little area. Yeah,
I bought one of the ones that's longer,
yes,
and I've noticed I don't know, it just has a different look, it's very clean.
yes.
And I'm especially using it on top of my mirror booth because it,
Yes, the mirror booths they work really well. Has anybody, you know what she's talking about? So it's a rectangle box, and it's about 12 inches by, I think yours is probably what, 30?
Yeah.
30 inches.
yeah.
And the alien bee fits right in there, and it does the same thing. It's going to shoot, and it's going to take all the light and just spread it out.
Softbox, right?
It's a
It's a
softbox.
softbox,
Yep.
but it's rectangular.
And it's black on the back. It's white in the front. It's really clean looking. So those work really well with the mirror.
Do you still get the kind of the same end result, like changing from a beauty dish to a soft
Absolutely.
box?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think that the other thing about it too is at least mine, it's kind of a lower profile
Yeah.
on the booth. So you don't have the thing, sticking up here. You can lower it down and.
Yeah. And for lower ceilings, especially with the mirror booth, is you're only 58 inches or something on a mirror, right? So you're only adding a little bit. So any other questions until we get into camera basics?
Just question if you're using flash.
Yeah.
Because I have my infinite, so I can't put a larger umbrella.
You have really good flashes inside, correct?
Yes.
Do you notice you would have to do LED sticks if you're not getting crystal clear? Because I know when you're bouncing things, I'm not a big bounce fan. That's just me. I like an actual flash on top of my boots. If my light ever goes bad, which has happened, I have that ring light in the front of the one. We turn off the flash, and we just use it on just mono lighting, and it works. Just you kick up your ISO, and you get through your job. You're not going to tell your client, "I'm sorry, my flash is bad," and you got a line of 100 people. You're not going to run to your car for that extra flash. You're going to shut it off. You're going to change your settings really quick, and you're going to move on. That's what you want. You want your guests never understanding and your client to never understand you had a problem. You have a problem, you could say, "Hey, I'm changing out my paper," open the printer door, and say, "I just need a minute," and then go into and say, "I'm adjusting my camera settings." Okay, so this is very important, so I would like everybody to understand this, okay? So your ISO, all we need to know is 3 things to get your camera settings absolutely perfect. First thing I want you to know, and this is the most important, is your ISO, okay? How many people shoot at 800? Okay? Nobody uses 800 all the time, correct? So you're trying to stay at 200 to 400, correct? Do we know why we're trying to stay at 200 to 400? That's 100%. You got it. You say it on the mic.
There, makes it less grainy.
Yes.
The higher the ISO, the grainier it is. It's like pixelation.
Oh,
So I talk to people all the time. You guys are the smartest group. So I talk to people all the time that tell me, "Well, I'm shooting at 1600, and I'm shooting at like 1/250th of a second, and I'm shooting at f16." And I'm like, "Whoa!" For f11, I go, "Whoa!" All those settings are really, really high, like completely wrong. They may develop a perfect image, but it's not doing it the right way. What you want is the lowest ISO that you can get out of your flash. The lower ISO, the less grain. Okay? Does everybody understand that part? Okay. So we're going to move to the. I'm going to move to the aperture. So if we were shooting outdoors, bright sun with my regular camera, I'm probably going to start somewhere. If it's really bright, my first shot may be f16 to f22. That's if I'm just taking photos of you guys outside, because it's so full sun. In a photo booth, I'm probably, and most likely, I'm 5'6" to, 7, 5'6", 6, 7, 8.
Even in real bright sun?
That's where, no, I'm saying back to the photo booth inside.
Oh, inside.
Yeah, so we're back inside, I'm sorry, jumped. If you have 2 or 3 people, first of all of your lenses that you're using right now is 5'6" to, I think 5'6" is the minimum. So you don't even have a choice of going lower. When you get into a higher end lens that go to 2.8, the one we were using yesterday was what a 1.2? That's a phenomenal lens. But we're going to try to focus, we want to focus on a group of 4 people, group of 2 people, group of 8 people. So the more people is where I do adjust. Who's in focus? So if I'm shooting at like f4, f5.6, I'm assuming that my center focus is right in the middle, okay? And I want to focus on these couple people, right? If I'm going to shoot a group of 6 to 8, every single one, I'm going to kick it up a little bit more because I want to make sure that everybody is in focus. Do you kind of understand? My focus center, the lower the number, as I go to the side, the people on the side, they're going to trail off and they're not going to be as in focus. Okay, does everybody understand that? Anybody questions on that?
I'm sorry, so you're saying the more people, the higher.
I do that, yes. I go to higher. Do you do that as well?
Yeah, because my thing is like, if you have 5 people in the photo booth, you should not be shooting anywhere lower than f8 or f5.6. So
Correct.
however many people in your photo booth is what your f-stop should be.
Perfect,
So,
yeah.
and the easiest thing I always say is set the base, light the face. So you should know your camera settings 100% in your
Correct.
photo booth.
And
So
depending
just
on,
add the flash.
yeah, so, exactly.
F8, 125th, 400, and then take a picture, and then set your light.
That's exactly right. So, any other questions on that? Please ask if you got questions. I'm
Okay, I'm gonna take a risk and I'm dumb. I
No,
don't
don't.
understand why 'cause I always thought that aperture really just had to do with how much light is being limited.
Well, it is, but it's
So how does that,
it's your depth of field. So if, let's just say that I'm taking your photo right now, okay? And in this setting here, in this lighting, I have my 7200, and I go to 2.8. I'm gonna take a beautiful photo of you, but behind you I want it to be blurry. Okay, so what I'm doing is using a really low number, which is only focused on you. Everything behind you is all blurry. Got it? So if I want to take a photo of you, but I want all these people and all these people in, if I stay at 2.8, what's going to happen? I'm going to move it out a little bit and I'm going to take a photo. Everyone else is blurry. You're still perfect, but everyone else is blurry. So let's just say I bring it up to f4, f5.6. Go to f5.6 and now I notice that the person next to you on either side look great, but we're still trailing off at the edges, okay? So now we're going to kick it up and we say, now we have 2, 4, 6, we have 4 people on both. So we have a total of 8 people. We're going to f8. And now I take your photo. You're still flawless in the focus. The person next to you is still flawless in the focus. And we go on to the very end. The person on the end at f8, it should start trailing right here.
I've never had, I can shoot 14 people, everyone's in focus, and I'm at like f11.
That's perfect. No, that's fine.
Okay.
The higher the number, remember, the higher the number,
Right.
the more people are going to be in focus. The lower the number, the less people in focus. So if you're only shooting 2 people, you're only shooting 4 people.
But I don't change it.
Shoot it at f4. You don't need to. In a photo booth setting, everybody wants to be in focus. Everyone wants to look perfect, right?
I just zoom in.
So just remember, if we get you to f8 instead of f11 for only those, let's say you have 6 or 8 people, the lower the settings, the better the quality. So like I said, if we bump it our ISO, we're gonna have grainy photos. Let's just talk about the shutter for a second.
Okay.
So shutter is, are your subjects still? So we're not doing slow motion. I mean, we're not doing high pace, slow motion where everyone jumps around. We're taking a standard photo. So for a standard photo, I would stick at 125. Is everybody pretty much consistent between 100, 125? Has anybody shot at 1/60th in a photo booth? Okay, and what happens if do people move?
They get a little bit out of focus.
They're blurry.
They're blurry.
Right.
But it
And-
has to do with light.
Yeah. But the kids in the photo booths, you can't keep them still. So if you can get to 125, you're golden on that. So does everybody kind of understand? A typical setting for what I do is always between 200 and 400. And then besides 200 and 400, I'm at 125, and I'm usually an F8. Okay, that's anywhere from 5.6 to F8. That's where I like to be. Then, like Jamie mentioned a minute earlier about getting all these settings perfect, then adjusting your Digi-B, your Alien B, whatever light you have. There's usually a slider. There is a the digital one where you can go up and down. Play with it. I don't like a lot of harsh light. I really don't like a ton of flash. My Alien Bs are all the way to the left, and I just go a little bit. And if I need to add, depending on skin color as well. I mean, your backdrop, your subject. So if you go, and I can quickly, within a second, go, okay, I need to increase a little bit of light. It takes a second, and you know it's going to be. And then the other idea is you're snapping that photo, and a person goes, ooh, it's pretty dark. Just hit escape, start it over.
Give just a little more insight on the flash settings. Like, I have had to play with Digi-B because it's not a slider, it's an up and down, and it's a little bit more, I feel, complicated maybe for someone that's not really knowledgeable. But you're saying more light or just test it? I mean,
You
play
just
with
have to
it,
start
yeah.
at the bottom and move up just a tad.
Yeah.
They really are. There is so much light going through those flashes. And Alien B is one of the best. If you're not using them, I'm not telling you you have to, but it is one of the best flashes. It's very reliable. Every time you pull it out, it's always going to work. And if it doesn't, Alien B. So they're made in the U.S. and it's Paul C. Below. That's the only place you can buy them. If you buy them used, you can buy them somewhere else. But you order them on a Monday, you get them on a Thursday or a Friday, they ship out, the packaging, everything's perfect.
And you talk to a real person on the phone?
You do, yes. So we got to fly through this a little bit. I only have a few minutes, and I want to open up for general questions. So LED panels, I know people have used LED panels. These are great. I've used LED panels for a couple things. I do a couple special needs events, and where flashes are not appropriate. Some of these adults at country jamborees where they're having their time of their life. We're putting them we're telling them to stand here and hold still. You can't tell, people, stand still. Well, not having that flash is not good. It won't irritate them. So using LED panels, using one on them, it just does an amazing job. Studio lighting, like we talked about, you can go crazy. If you ever have a high-end corporate client, you're going to want to get in just, doing this, plus tethering your camera to a computer and making a lot more money. Let's see. Okay, so again, we have the ring light, the Alien B in the middle. We have your on-camera flashes. Here's an Alien B down here. We have an LED panel. And then there's a soft box. So, any questions with any of those? Yeah. Oh. Okay. Go on. No, go on.
So I do have a question on the Alien B800.
Yes.
I use that in my T20 tower, and I find that when I'm using it in the LED inflatable,
Yes.
I get that gray, right? And there's really nothing that I can, either move forward, backwards. I beauty dish, but that's it. So how do I?
You're going to play with your white balance. Is the bottom line is you have to work in your white balance. And if you can't figure out your white balance on that, what's that, Jimmy?
I said, or just add 2 flashes, because it's not balanced out.
Yeah, correct.
That might be the solution. Because I know how to do the white balance on
Yes.
it. It's, it's a Canon and it's really easy to figure that out on
So
Canon.
but the actual backdrop of the white looks
Well,
great.
so the backdrop of the inflatable
Mhm.
LED changes consistently. The color's not very
I know.
right? So I think that for me, it's probably gonna have to be adding on some additional lighting.
I don't ever like to add anything to an LED inflatable because I just feel like it's an accident waiting to happen. That is just me. That being said, here's what you could do is there is a LED, those the light panels, the lights, you could do LED light sticks. Have you ever tried that on Velcro on the sides?
I'm gonna have to add something.
You can take my card and we can email each other too. I have an LED, I can show you some of what I've done.
We're in the same hood, so we can probably be
We can do that. Awesome. All right, so here's your, right here's the
Yeah.
LED, you know, the
That
cube. So
LED.
here's just some,
See
you
that
know,
bridge
some
zone
samples.
to that
Yep,
background? That's
Yep.
what I get.
that's, I had it actually, Jeannie, did you ever put one in the back? A flash in the back?
On my inflatable?
Yeah.
I just put 2 flashes on the side and just
Yeah.
mount them. So there's no
And-
stand.
okay, so it's mounted, yeah. You could do it in the back end too. We did a flash in the back and it was fine. So these are just samples of different backdrops and I don't know why it looks different.
Paul, you have a
colors.
question back here.
What, oh, go ahead.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Because I don't use the LED thing, but I have like a LED 800 and 1600, and I've experienced that same break on a plain white background,
Yeah.
top background. It just in the picture when it prints, it looks great when it's white.
It's,
So you just play with white background.
so use a bigger umbrella.
Okay.
So use like a 42-inch umbrella.
I think I have one that's
You have a,
42.
with your 42 should be with your 1600, definitely. But that 1600 is so overkill for a majority of the jobs.
I
It
have
really
both,
is.
so it just depends on which one I grab.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, but in a photo booth, you never need 1600 ever. Okay, go on.
Any tips on getting true color? I use silver and gold sequins, right? People think it more than anything else. And the color isn't always, sometimes the gold looks silver.
And every photo is different, right? It seems like
Yeah, I don't know
I have it where
that
it's,
so much, but-
it's all in how you bunch it up. There's people that make it really taut,
Right.
and then there's people that put the lines in it, make it little. It's,
Is it lighting?
you know, I don't. I mean, it is lighting.
Really good. The people look really good.
The people look awesome. It's the backdrop. It's
And then
just the way
backdrop
those
doesn't look
the
real
different
Okay.
the different sequence. Have you guys tried the pillowcase with the sequence?
I went straight to faux sequin pillowcase instead of the regular sequin pillowcase.
And you like those?
Yeah, like the one in the second picture down.
Yeah.
I like those better than the regular sequin.
Oh, yeah.
They don't suck the light out of the photo.
Correct. Right.
What do your clients think of that though? I mean,
Yeah.
It's printed, right?
It's printed, Champagne Sparkle and from Ginsberg and Snowflake Explosion and Neon Bohan are my most popular backdrops. I'm gonna have to buy another Champagne Sparkle because I have people,
they don't mind that it's like faux.
they don't care.
It's-
Because it's all about what it looks like in the picture.
Okay. Yeah. Well, here's just one that, like I was saying, see how clean the photo is? I can't see from this angle. Is it clear? Okay, that's constant light right on them. So backdrop looks good, photo looks good, everyone's happy. So in the middle of an event, there is, you know, you could have a flash go out and you're going to have to figure out a way to light your
I
subjects
have a backup
anyways.
flash.
Mhm.
I have a backup flash. I just switch it out.
That's what you should have. You should have a backup flash.
My whole mount broke a couple weeks ago.
So here's one just showing with the umbrella flash. So it's just with the alien bee. It's clean, no shadow. See how the light goes right through. Same here. I mean, I don't like the. I have bad hands. My hands are dry. So when I touch those sequins, it like rips at me every time. It's really bad. So this is like what you were questioning how to kind of position it. I'm not a big fan of the sparkles. For some reason, I'll do one event, and for the next 6 weeks, everybody wants the red one, the gold one, the white one, the black one, and it, you know, same with the inflatables. Once you put it out once, everybody decides they want it for their next event. This one here was 2 Canon flashes at an air show, and we were We used a camera, I believe we used a camera and just 2 flashes, and just shot tethered to that. So you can use regular camera flashes for your job. So what else? I think this is fun. I always like, just out of focus. This is all about lighting, right? I can't see, but it was, so that was a photo that I was taking, and I have to thank people for sending me photos, because people do send me photos, these aren't all mine, and say you use this part of it, like the out of focus one, or the white balance. So the white balance was set to auto, and if you look at that, you don't know if that's a blue, a gray, you really don't know what true color that was, and I believe that was an off-white, it was a cream color, and you can see it almost looks like blue. So
when that happens, because I have that floral backdrop that I hate that everyone likes.
Yep.
And it's an inconsistency just like that. It's all the same backdrop, sometimes it's blue, sometimes it's silver.
Yep.
So what is the best white balance for something
So
like that?
you can do a custom white balance. You can actually get a white balance card and you can dial it in yourself. The first thing I would do is check your settings. See, are you on auto? Because if you're on auto, it could change depending on your lighting. You could have an open air and have the light coming in from the side.
So usually it's an open air, like maybe that's...
If it's an open air, then you definitely want to make sure. I would stick to flash. Test it, play with your lighting, with the subject there, lower it, make sure that, if you have a tilt, make sure the kids are, in there, because you could look great here, and then when you get down to this level, it's darker. Does that answer it? You can email me too, I can walk you through a couple of things too.
Go old school and bring a white card with you as well.
That's
Because
right.
if you have the white card, that's white. And so no matter what you put, once you remove the card, that's the same.
Correct. Yes, you would just do a custom white balance, and I can send you exactly how to do that. So equipment failure, we talked about that already, right? Everybody has it. Just have backups. So like I said here, you got to resolve your issues. So if you have an issue where your camera goes bad, your printer goes bad, figure out a way to make it right. We had a client, not my client, someone called me and said they had the wrong date on a photo strip at a wedding. Anybody put the wrong dates? I've had clients that I've sent them the proof, and they approved the proof, and the date was wrong, and I caught it. So if you are at an event, you're at a wedding, and the bride or family comes up to you and says, hey, the date you have is yesterday's date, you are now going to have to figure out a way to fix it. So there's ways of doing it in Photoshop. If you have certain softwares like Darkroom, you could actually change the date, and you can go back and do a wrap up. You can go in and reprint every one of them and make the job. You can get it resolve your issue. But I saw on the Photo Booth Network, I'm sure you guys have seen it. Hopefully it wasn't you guys, but someone posted that they didn't want to spend the money to reprint. Did anybody see that comment a couple weeks ago? Didn't want to spend the money to reprint. Said, why should I have to reprint? They messed up. They approved my photo layout, but the date was wrong. The easiest thing is, how much does a DNP printer paper cost? Nothing. How much does a job cost? Do you want that job next year? It's priceless, right? We always want to make sure that we're getting that job. That's, the next year. So reprint, whether you have to ship them to your clients or deliver them, and again, you're sending the digitals as well. So any other questions? The refund is the last option. You always want to make sure. I heard somebody on the network say once, we are so sorry that we had issues, we're going to apply a credit for next year's event. So you've already booked them for next year's event. And they're like, well, we're gonna have you back anyways, even though you made this right. You're giving them $100, you're giving them $200 off there next year. You left it on good terms. So, yes?
So my question is back to Flash. The Flash, I don't have the A11B sounds like I should invest. But I have just strobe flash,
Mhm.
non-adjustable. So if it's too bright and it gets blown out, I'm adjusting my exposure on the Canon. Is that like?
There should be a digital on the back. There should be some kind of dial. There is a dial on the back.
No, it's a straight, it's a strobe flash. It's a photography strobe flash. It's just on that, there's no dial.
So on the back, you just have an on-off.
I have a plug.
Yep.
And I have a on-off.
I don't know. Do me a favor and email me. I'd like to at least maybe text me a photo of it.
Because sometimes
I'd
what
like
I
to see
do
it.
is just adjust the flash exposure
Yep.
that way, and then
Yep.
that's what I'll do.
And that's easy to do. Just twist it and go, okay, I need a little bit more light. I need a
It
little
sounds like
less
that's
light.
what the alien does, like
It does.
It does it there,
Yep.
not on the Canon. That's what
Correct. So like what we were talking about, getting your baseline to the F8, the 1/120th, 25th of a second, and that F400, F200, right? And then play with your flash. You're going to train your staff to do those three things, and then tell them, take that first photo. Oh, it's really dark. Well, because someone turned it all the way down. Or, why is the light so bright? You know, so then you adjust it. Most of the things can be done right on the flash.
I just did a wedding the other day, and the gentleman was from West Africa, and the woman was a white blonde
Mm-hmm.
from Alaska like me, and the background that they chose was like a creamy background. And we were having a hell of a time. And I just wonder, in situations, where you have these multicultural couples that
Yes.
have a lot of difference in the families and the coloring and so forth, is there any magic trick?
It's just playing with, it's really just, what I first do is, the minute I look at somebody, I look at, am I going to need to increase or decrease? I have pasty white people that I'm going, whoa, I have to go all the way down because I know they're going to look blown out. They're just going to be so overexposed. So it's basically just making adjustments and knowing, after you do something long enough and do enough jobs, you're going to go, yep, I got to do this. And do you notice, like, when you take a photo and it prints a shade darker?
Yeah.
So on your digitals, there's nothing wrong with having it a little bit overexposed because they may get the digitals, but your print has to be spot on. So when we're printing on a DMP, you're printing on Mitsubishi, whatever printer you guys use, just know that I go a little bit brighter, and that way, Yes?
Some of the photo booths I use, we don't use an external flash, we're using the flash from the camera. In that case, how do you adjust that?
So you're using
In the camera flash, so pop-up flash.
Oh, really? In your photo booth?
Yeah,
Okay.
When photo booth does that?
So it pops the little bulb?
yeah.
You're basically going to have to start at like F16 on that. I'm sorry, not F16, 1600 ISO, just to get those images. Which is, because 200, 400, you're never going to get anywhere close to it. I would probably be at 4.5, 5.6, somewhere around, I'd probably be 5.6. Everything changes when you just go to a smaller flash. Now in a desperate situation, like we had to take a camera and put it right. It's basically trigger because we couldn't get it to work in the booth, and we used just this. And I was shooting 800. I was shooting 5.6, and I was probably shooting 1/80th of a second and telling people to hold still. So I'm going to leave some of my cards up here. If anybody has any questions, you're more than willing to just go ahead and email me. And any other questions, I'll be around for a few minutes. So hope you guys enjoyed it.